Yo, this video is going to look a bit different from the tournament videos I usually do, but I had a pretty crazy tournament run, so I thought I'd make a video on it and it's going to be a bit more of a VOD review style. If you're watching this video as it comes out, then I will be playing in another one of these tournaments right now on my Twitch, which I will show on screen and link in the description. My first opponent is mcsr, which if you're familiar with my channel, you'll know that Minsa was my fellow mccr applicant on the Orange Octopi. So we got some friendly fire here going on in this ranked tournament. I initially didn't get a spike, so what I did was mine 2 logs in case if it was a shipwreck, and lo and behold it was. So that play did end up paying off. The chest is a bit buried, but luckily it's only buried by 1 deep. If it was buried by a bit more than that, it would be a little bit of a problem. I would start taking drowning damage. But right here, it's a pretty textbook seed. I know where my trees are, I know where my magma ravine is, and I know what tools I'm making. I have 9 iron here. I'm going to be crafting a pickaxe, shears, and a golden shovel. In terms of raw seeding, I have the favorable matchup here, and I think that remains true as players. Middensaw and I have pretty similar enough times on random seed leaderboard, and I have slightly better stats for ranked, but I also do know that they can definitely beat me when it comes down to it. So I can just never count them out. So I can never like play too safe, too passively in front of them because they could very well just outpace me. Another thing I forgot to mention is this tournament is a best of 3, meaning that I need to play at least 2 matches against every single opponent I get. Now approaching this bastion, it is a stables variant, which is probably one of the most decision-heavy bastions in the game. Now something I've been trying to force on every single stables bastion is get all the pigs and gold from the triple, which I'm approaching here, and take them down to a good gap, which is a route that I'm going to be doing here. As I'm running out here, a fun route that I like to do is break this chest in the double to re-aggro the piglins. Now this route requires a lot of distraction gold, and I do get hit a few times, but I'm able to bring all the pigs from the triple up towards the gap here. And now I have the 4 gold blocks from the triple and all the pigs, and I'm going to be trading all the gold blocks in the gap. And this play will allow me to get most likely more pearls, more string, and if it's tough to get 20 obsidian just from the gold from the gap, it will very likely push me to 20 obsidian. I managed to get all my trades here heading out. I managed to craft golden carrots as well, arguably one of the best food sources in the game. I'm pretty sure I have a bed pre-crafted as well, and I pyrite, so I'm on my way to the fort. Here I'm at the spawner, and I always want to make the play to blaze bed as quickly as possible. Get it off, clear out all the fire, and then build out just so I can get as many spawns from the spawner as I can, realistically. And now I know from right here, after Middensai gets the fort advancement, I know that I'm a good 30 seconds ahead of them, meaning that as long as I keep up my pace and don't falter, that I will very likely be able to win. One thing that's really cool, which I've started doing recently, is I do boat eye, but I don't do a boat overlap in the portal or in the overworld. That's because I changed my sensitivity to one of the few sensitivities which allow you to get your boat angle in the nether, which that seems like it's a very bad example due to the measurement, but that's just because of a bad angle, where after here it becomes 100%. Where I did have green boat while throwing the first eye there, even though that's a pretty bad example. If this happens again, I will point it out. But that's something cool that I decided to do, just a small optimization for not needing to do boat and portal, which is about like maybe a second. And the same thing with village, temple, or ruin portal seeds. Not needing to craft a boat sometimes is really, really nice. As I'm scanning the stronghold, I have in my head that I should be going for basically every 0 cycle that I get the chance to. play. If I have it, I should always be going for it. And I don't remember if I end up going. I don't remember which tower this was or if I even go for the 0 on this match, but it is an open end spawn, which every 0 on an open end spawn should be possible. And it is front 103, which I like doing the side setup for, which I end up whipping it out here, going to 94, which is pretty good. I know a lot of people do 93 as well. But, oh, I do remember this. This had a pretty high explosive count, but I do believe I managed to get it done anyways. First two beds, the second bed was horrible, but the thing with this 103 setup is you want to keep the dragon as high as you can at all times. So that I'm not doing good damage at all, but I am keeping the dragon up. Which, luckily I had the amount of explosives I did, because if I didn't, it would probably lose me the seed. But luckily I'm able to take the dragon out with probably the longest 0 cycle end fight ever, and be able to beat Mida as they had just entered the end right now. This next seed is a ruin portal, as I can see it after checking for a spike. Now, ruin portals in ranked can be really good and can also be really bad, and this one looks to be a good one, as there's an iron pickaxe, which allows me to get a golden axe, and a flint and steel, which allows me to cook animals. So this does look, assuming that there's animals nearby, that this will be a pretty fast overworld. Unfortunately, a big downside to this overworld specifically is that there are no animals nearby. Now, I could risk it and go into the nether with absolutely no food, but I know that for a tournament, I want to be playing for consistency. So at first, I'm trying to run out to these sheep here that I see, but I also see some pigs in the plains, which are far out of the way, but I believe them to be better than entering the nether with no food. So even though it does and will take me a while, it takes me like a minute here, that I do think this play is worth it. Now, Mida here was able to find either closer animals or just bossed it up, because they had just entered the nether as I'm making it back to my portal. So I know in my head I'm like, okay, they probably have food, because if they did play for no food, they would have entered earlier. And they probably have just as much materials as I do. So I'm just at a raw disadvantage here by like 30 seconds or so, needing to run all the way back to this portal. So I know in my head right now, I'm thinking, okay, I need to make up this time in the nether somehow. And as I'm running here, I can see the bastion is a bridge variant, which is a pretty consistent bastion type. All the gold is in the same spot. Unfortunately, because the chalice is so high up, I need to use a lot of my wood to get there, but luckily, I still have 27 left, which is enough to do the route that I want to do, Donkey Kong, but then again, that would be using up all my wood. But I guess it's not much of a problem because there's just so many blue trees around here that it's really a non-issue. Now, I doubt this is the right play, but I do notice some netherrack terrain above me, so what I decide to end up doing is mine it with my gold pick for blocks so I can do the route. And that way I won't need to use up all my wood and I'll still have some left. Here these hoglins are annoying, and luckily I'm able to block them off with the netherrack to start the route here. But these hoglins will become a bit more of a problem there, because I broke that block a bit early. The hoglin is able to basically puppy guard that spot, so if I ever go there, it's gonna try to damage me, which we'll see here in a bit how that goes. Try to jump over, and I get knocked right into the lava almost, but I'm able to block clutch. And I get dropped on by a piglin. Absolutely destroyed. Now, I could go back because there's a chance some of my stuff was saved, but I decided to full reset at 5 minutes, meaning that I pretty much have to get a sub 10 on this seed, or else I'm going to lose. And I decide to, instead of gathering materials in the overworld, because the food is really far, I decide that, hey, I get an iron pick from the ruin portal. What I'm going to do is there's going to be iron in the bastion. I'll get a lava bucket and kill hoglins in the bastion, and that's how I'll get my food. And I'll do it while the pigs are trading, so it won't be time loss at all. As I'm mining the chalice here, I get the in the chat the message that Middensaw has blinded, meaning that I'm 2 splits behind, so I will definitely need to catch up some time there. Also, not sure if you noticed, some flint and steel tech to take no knockback from the Hoglins. Just some very nice little minuscule time save, which I really like doing. Luckily, the Hoglin wasn't able to attack me this time, so I'm able to start the route and do it pretty well. I'm now in the fort as Middensaw has entered the end, and it's scary for me because I have basically 4 minutes to beat the game, and the max perch time is like 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So right now I'm pretty much banking on Middensaw to choke, whether it be a 0 cycle or half bow or 1 cycle, but that's pretty much my win con is if Middensaw loses, which is a pretty bad win con to have, and it's very likely going to go to game 3, so I know that I'll need to boss up if I want to clutch it out. Right here, I've measured my eye. I know the stronghold's about 1200 away, and because of the end time limit, each match is like 15 minutes long, I have 3 minutes to be able to win, to beat Minecraft, which is very, very doable for me. I've hit many sub 3 end games in practice and many in runs. My ranked PB has a 230 end game, which is pretty respectable. So I know that I'll need to boss up, I'll need to nail the terrain navigation, I'll need to nail the stronghold navigation, and hit the 0 cycle if I want to win, because Middensaw still hasn't finished yet, so there's still like a sliver of hope that I will be able to win. Right here I get the GG message indicating that Middensaw has won, and it is pretty tragic because without the death this would have been an 8-minute stronghold. Probably not, just because I spent a lot more time in the overworld getting materials that I could have gotten in the nether, but this now puts it at 1-1, meaning that whoever wins the next match is going to advance to the next round. Now, even if I were to lose this one, it wouldn't be over, because it's a double elimination tourney, meaning that even if I lose, I'll still face another opponent and still have a shot at getting first place, which is something I really, really like about double elimination tourneys. On to seed 3. This is one of the most juiced seeds I've played. Buried treasure seed with diamond pickaxe and TNT. The food situation for COD could leave a lot to be desired, actually. Now, just to show how good the seed is, it's a pretty respectable buried treasure with I guess this is one of the slower island leaves, but I wanted to make sure I had a lot of wood, and the ravine is just right here. I'm right above it right now, which catches me off guard. I don't actually see it for a few seconds. Yeah, Middensaw played the overworld much better than I did and is already getting hot stuff where I'm a few seconds behind them, which for this seed, this enter's pretty slow, but overall, a 140 enter is alright, I suppose, especially for my skill level. But I believe I do the portal better than them, and I enter the nether right to a bridge bastion, which I guess the game loves giving me bridge bastions because this is the second time in a row. Right here, I notice a few things. First, the bastion has 2 triples, meaning that there's 2 routes I could do. The Donkey Kong, which I did last time, and a separate route called Crack Smoker, which is pretty much Donkey Kong but the different side. Most people either call it Crack Smoker or Right Side Donkey Kong. And another thing where you might have missed it is while my screen was widened and made a bit shorter, I was able to see more of the nether and see a fortress, which becomes useless if you notice the blaze spawner out the back of the bastion, which this is a pretty good seed. Especially with a Donkey Kong route, which is good, and there, you can see to my left, blaze spawner instantly. Now, if I see this earlier, you might make an argument to play the other triple as it's a lot closer to the blaze spawner, but I still decide to go with my original routing of playing Donkey Kong. Another thing that I'm always trying to get on top of is always crafting a bed in the bastion, because this will allow me to blaze bed as fast as possible at the fortress and get the fast spawns. I don't think I end up doing it in this run, actually, for reasons that you will see why later, but it just goes to show that consistency pays off. But yeah, I'm at this spawner at 427, which is very, very decent pace. And something that I'll notice is I end up hearing it first, but this right here is actually another blaze spawner. So with this spawner spawning 3 and an unknown amount at the other one, I know that I'll have plenty of blazes to kill. And Minsa just gets the advancement as well 20 seconds after me, so I know that I am a little bit ahead, but 20 seconds is not enough to be comfortable, especially in the fortress where people can save so much time in host blinds just by taking different terrain, getting to the stronghold in different ways. Which, can we talk about these blazes? These are insane amounts of blazes. I'm already out at low 5 minutes. This was a sub 1 fortress split, which just goes to show how absurd this seed is. Sub 530 blind is very, very respectable. Now I'm on my way to Cords, and I decide to go through the bad part of the fort to get there. I know I could dig around in a ravine, but right now I'm just hoping that this fortress just wormholes me to some open terrain. And it doesn't look like it at first, but there I'm able to see a lip of it underneath. And after copying Cords, I think I do that here. Yeah, I know it's 64 blocks away, which I know is like pretty much like one pearl throw away. And yeah, the Cords are just right here on this magma, which I decide to pre-craft my beds and anchors, which means that I'll have 5 explosives, which is pretty much the bare minimum I need to zero cycle, which is also scary because if I mess it up, I'll need to full bow, which is pretty slow and can give mid and sub time to catch up, which if you look at that, that is a sub 7 stronghold, which goes to show how crazy this seed is, and a beautiful spike down mid, and bam, insta portal room. This is just like low 8 pace, like 820 pace if I'm able to hit this zero cycle, which would be absurd to get in a tournament. I don't know, it might be, which spoiler alert about the zero, which I guess you'll see now. It is front 94, and my second pearl is good, but I'm just not able to block clutch, which I probably still could have gone for it realistically, but I got scared, especially with low explosives. You don't want to mess anything up. So I decide to shoot a crystal to probably attempt a fast bow. Do I shoot more? I shoot more from the bottom here, which I think is fine. And I just go for half bow, which that could have been sad. If I hit that zero, it would have been around an 820, which probably would have been the fastest time in the tournament. Which on one hand is like kind of cool. I know most more skilled runners than me would get sub 8 on this seed, which is kind of sad, knowing I'm not that good, but nevertheless, I know this is still very likely going to be a sub 10 time. I just need to hit the 1 cycle. I've got plenty of explosives. 5 is more than enough for me to hit the 1 cycle. I've got plenty of health, able to pearl in and damage the dragon, so it's going to be fine. Now I decide to not pearl here for some reason, and the dragon gets way too close, and I need to detonate a bed early, and it's on the wrong side. So after 4 explosives, the dragon still has like a third of its health left, meaning that's not enough for me to kill with my axe, which is really bad, because that means I'm going to have to full bow. And to make matters worse, Minsa had just hit the stronghold, where I don't know if they died, or if, which that probably has to be it. I think they may have died, where yeah, they just entered the end at 9:30, and I just need to full bow, which I'm just not hitting my shots, and it's driving me mad. Yeah, I even use my eye zoom macro to be able to like get a clearer shot of the crystal. But I know that if Minsa hits the zero or the 1 cycle, it might be over. And I already know the dragon is just perching right now. So I need to be able to hit this. Oh, it's not perching, it fireballed me? That's such a scam. But yeah, I know that I need to finish off the dragon really, really quickly, or it will be really bad for me. I'll be in loser's bracket in round 1, and it's going to be just not a good time at all. Luckily here, the dragon's really low, and I'm just able to finish it off with my crossbow as it's perching, and by now I have no idea if Middensaw had one or not. If they'd gotten a fast perch, because I know at this point they didn't zero, then they would have won. And I try to confirm my suspicions, and I do end up taking it with a 10-minute time, which seems like pretty good, but off of a sub 7 stronghold is kind of bad. Like, you really need to choke, which I did to get a time like that. And yeah, at least I did move on onto my next opponent, who is Minecraft speedrunner, Smash player, Kane's enthusiast, Big Pisu. He is, or he was consistently top 32 last season, I'm pretty sure. If I'm wrong about that, he probably won't correct me because top 32 is pretty respectable. But I know that Pisu's a scary opponent. I'm probably to Pisu what Minsaw was to me, where I know I can beat him, but Pisu definitely has the upper hand on me. Now, I know that this is a buried treasure, and I try to conserve my health as much as I can, but I still have to take a lot of damage. And especially because it's a cod buried treasure, I know that's not the best food, so I know that it won't heal me up too much. But in my head, I know what I need to craft. I'm going to make diamond shovel, gold axe, and I know that I'm going to get a decent amount of wood from this, so I don't need to worry much about that. And I even think I get an apple there. Do I pick it up? Yes. Oh, 2 apples. Oh my goodness. I am a lucky. Holy cow. One thing I do not like about icy oceans is that it's very difficult for visibility. So I just decide to go out. I'm not sure if I saw this ravine, where I think I do see it now. It's really hard to see. Seeing it in game is a lot easier, but yes, this does end up being a real ravine. So the flint rates are absolutely atrocious on this seed. Not even getting them yet. And there, just get a flint. But yeah, those flint rates are ones that you really do not want to see. Luckily, I am starting my portal before him, so I don't know if he just went the wrong way or found a different one, but I am in the nether first, which is really good for me. Now, I know my angle for the bastion, but this terrain is looking pretty not great. It looks like it loops around when I really don't want to loop around, so what I decide to do is just instantly stack up, because the up terrain looks a lot better. And yeah, I'm able to see the bastion right there, and it's a stables variant. And I'm already able to see both the good gap and the triple on the same side. Now you can do a lot of routes with this, and especially triple to gap, which I always like forcing, but because of where I'm entering in the bastion, which is down at the bottom, this makes the pathing for the bastion really hard. So I think I end up deciding to do a different play, where I start the gap first, and then get the triple later. I messed around with the bastion a bit, not sure what I was trying to do. I guess I was still trying to figure out what play to make at the time. But I'm able to start my gap route, which pretty slowly. Pisu has already started trading long ago at this point. But I'm still able to get my pigs in the hole, get them trading, which is always good. Now right here I decided to do an interesting play. I know that I have 12 obsidian, and I'm not sure if I'll get more, so I decide to climb up to the triple through the outside here to be able to check the chests. And I'm not sure if I get the gold or not, but no, I think I just check the chests here. But this is a fun way to check the triple chest, and I'm able to get all my obsidian I need to leave the nether. And anything from this chest, yep, just a bit of extra string and arrows. And I decided to keep the normal crossbow instead of the quick charge crossbow, not for any particular reason, just because I'm stupid. Okay, now I've been in the fort for a good minute at least at this point, so I know that something happened with Pisu. Maybe his trading was bad, maybe he didn't get backups or something, maybe it took him a while to get to the triple, but I know that I am definitively ahead, so this is my game to lose, unless if Pisu pulls out with a crazy endgame. Now, one thing to note is that my boat broke on the way to the bastion, but because of my boat eye sensitivity, I don't actually need it. So I'm able to just get green boat here and measure my eyes. Another reason why I really like the sensitivity is because if I didn't have that, I'd need to craft a boat to regain it, which takes me from having enough wood for 9 explosives to having just enough wood for 8, which I guess isn't that bad, but if I just had like one or two less wood, that would go from 9 to 7, which is a bit more notable. And especially like lower amounts, that matters a lot. And again, every explosive matters. Like you saw in my first zero cycle against Minsa, if I didn't have that many beds, it would have been a lot closer than it was. Luckily, I'm able to get all my rods. I know the stronghold's 72 blocks away, which I know if I throw a good enough pearl, I'll be able to nail it. And I try to throw to that trend there, just barely able to miss it. And about a chunk away here, so I'm just able to bridge to get to the portal room. Luckily, I'm able to set up for zero here. I know I have enough time because Pisu is not in the stronghold yet. And yeah, very open end spawn again, meaning that this zero cycle is very hittable. Luckily, I'm able to get to the height on time and be able to pull off a zero cycle. I know I have more than enough beds to be safe, so my main priority is keeping the dragon high and then dealing damage, because I know I can afford to maybe waste an explosive or two because I'm ahead. Luckily, I'm able to finish with another 12-minute time, which is huge for my mental because now I need to only win one more match against Pisu, who's arguably a much, much better player than I am. This next seed is a desert temple. Now, one of the most important things about desert temples is knowing like where and when to get your resources and drawing all the invisible lines in your head to be able to get there. And I already know where my gravel, food, trees, water, and lava are. So I know in my head I'm like, okay, I need to get gravel and then wood and then I can get animals. And do I get gravel here? No, that was andesite. I was wondering if I got gravel at the bottom of the temple because that's something that's always nice to have. But something that's not nice to have is accidentally blocking your exit with 2 blocks. If this was just 1 block I placed, it would have been much better. But now I need to sit here and mine it. And I was considering blowing it up with TNT, but I decided not to do anything risky just because I made a mistake and then cover it up with more mistakes. But I decided just to mine some of the blocks there. Now this nether ender here is a treasure bastion, and I get way too scared of these piglins when realistically I know where I am. I'm so close to the gold blocks I can just jump over them. I decide to do some weird boat stuff and just go from the outside, which is definitively a bad play. Now, one thing about this bastion is that it is messed up. It is in a basalt biome, and if you know anything about basalt corrupted bastions, you'll know that they are really scuffed. And you can already see there's just a lava curtain flowing down. And I'm just pausing for a second, wondering what to do. And what I decide to do is make a little staircase so the piglins can get up, but something that I don't know is that it is absolutely useless because the pigs are so scared of the lava, they won't want to pathfind up the stairs. So what I decide to do right now is some sort of makeshift T-Wags route, so the pigs will be able to pathfind to the trading hole by going up the other side instead. Now, I think this is a really heads up play for me, which I really thought was pretty good. I know there's a specific spot you need to stand so they pathfind correctly, which I'm pretty sure is this one, but I don't know, I could be wrong. I don't usually do the T-Wags route, but I'm able to get, I think that's 3 pigs, which I know I should get more. I definitely did see more, but hey, any pigs is acceptable pretty much for this bastion, and because of the basalt, I know that I'm going to need to definitely dig around if I want to be able to get all the gold blocks. And it's right here where I'm able to see the fort out of the corner of my vision. And I know that it's about 2 pearls away. Able to get all my gold and tower back up, and yeah, it just goes to show how much basalt can mess up your bastion. Realistically, I probably just should have gone down and up the stairs, but I was very scared of any like stray piglins who would have seen me and hit me, which I didn't have much distraction gold as well, which, like, yeah, right there. If that sword pig was a bit later, I probably would have definitely taken a hit from him. With only a golden apple to use as distraction gold, and I really don't want to throw my golden apple because it's very useful for, say, in the fort, it's very useful for zero cycling. Definitely don't want to use it to distract a pig. Now, I think here is when I decide to make my first outright bad play. I only have 16 obsidian, and while most people would go to bottom treasure at this point, I decide to play home portal here. Instead of just getting more gold, getting 20 obsidian, and then going to the fort, I decide to pearl hang back to the treasure bastion and then play home portal, which I guess you could see like my point, maybe, or I guess I could see. Oh my goodness! Now here's something I want to point out because I just saw this now. There's, hang on, let me pause this video. Oh my goodness, it's not working. Here's something I want to point out right here. There's two blazes here, which I just absolutely do not see. I think I thought they were piglins or something. But no, those are two blazes I absolutely should have gone for. And then just either didn't see or decide to ignore for some magnificent reason. But I don't know, definitely another big misplay from me. Another reason why this is a bad play is because I'm forced to go on a low render distance, I'm not able to see a spawner. If I was at higher render distance, I would be able to see down all the hallways and be able to find the spawner. But because of the low render distance, luckily I'm just able to see it there. But that was definitely a good 30 seconds where I was like running around like a headless chicken, unable to find the spawner. Now, something I do on this spawner is I decide to do the 3 TNT setup as opposed to donut TNT, just for consistency, whether you have 3 or 4. And also placing the soul sand there so I don't take knockback from the explosion and fall off the spawner is, I think that's a pretty good play, if I do say so myself, not losing a bunch of time, potentially more food, needing to pearl up. That's probably a good play, which makes up for it. But as I was saying, I do like 3 TNT setups for a few reasons. One is just keeping a TNT for the end game. Another is it's just genuinely not that different from Donut TNT. And it might be same speed, if not faster. And something else I'm doing here is because I only have 2 string, I'm not able to craft a bow. So what I do is I craft tripwire hooks, so I'll be able to craft a crossbow, which I think is a really nice play. You always want to have either a bow or a crossbow for your end split because that allows you to do +2s for. And now that is very scary. If I wait just like maybe like a second longer, or not even a second, half a second, maybe even a tick longer, I'm just dead, and the run's dead because there's no way I'm getting a sub 10 on this seed on the run back with all my stuff gone. Now, and going for that clutch is risky. If I see that I'm falling, placing a block there after falling a while, definitely not good. But that is probably one of the most make or break moments of this seed. But I basically made my bed and now I need to lie in it, which is playing Home Portal, where from Home Portal, there you basically can never get like a super close blind. Like I think the most you can get is like 1100 blocks of distance. So you only want to do Home Portal, obviously, if you have more um, obsidian to go, but you also want the pearls to be able to make it. You also want the food to be able to pearl more. But I'm out of the nether before Pisu is, which is really, really good for me to be ahead. Good for the mental and also good for my odds of winning the match. How Home Portal works is that the stronghold will be far away, but out of the 3 strongholds in the first ring, and there, Pisu just forfeits. I think just because he died, probably, and knows that I'm further ahead than him. But how Home Portal works is you will get a decently far stronghold, but it does choose the closest of the 3 strongholds for you to go to. So, while it's not like the best conditions, it's not like going to be 500 blocks, it's not going to be like 2.3k. It's very rare that you're going to have a max distance stronghold from your home portal. But luckily, that means I took the victory of this round by with a 2-0, meaning that I will go on to my next opponent, who is Eric FZF, which is not great because he's arguably just a top 10 speedrunner. Now, Eric, who, if you have seen my channel, you would have seen him, or you would have seen me playing his custom seed, and now I'm going to have to race him in Minecraft speedrunning. Now, I know raw mechanics, I'm just no match for Eric. So I know if I'm going to beat him, it's going to be by either decision making or him making a mistake usually. But luckily I'm just going to play the seed in my heart. I actually don't remember this seed, so this is going to be fun to remember. Ooh, that is 11 iron. Now this is another oh, never mind. TNT. I was going to say, do I make iron axe or shears here? But because I have TNT, I'll make neither, and I will craft a button to ignite the TNT instead and be able to make iron axe. Because usually if I don't have TNT here, you need to make the decision on whether you want to make an iron axe or shears, where shears will get you more blocks, whereas the iron axe is just raw faster, but you get less blocks. So it's very, very interesting to see the dynamics of like who chooses iron axe and who chooses shears, because ranked seeds, the ranked filter does guarantee terrain to the bastion and terrain between the bastion and fort, and a decently close bastion as well. So sometimes you do need blocks as well if the terrain's like not great, if you need to like bridge over lava. But most of the time, the terrain is pretty decent, where you don't need too many blocks. But then again, you also do want blocks for a bastion route. For like Donkey Kong route, you want at least 20 blocks to just be able to use. And for I guess other bastion routes, like if you're at the treasure basin, I know you need at least 17 blocks to be able to stack up to mine the gold blocks as well. So blocks are very, very important. But then again, with Iron Axe, you can just take a bit more time, mine a few more logs, and be able to win. But Eric enters the nether well before me, so I know that I did expect this. I didn't really expect to enter first against him, but I do know that I will need to pick up the pace if I want to be able to win. And I do see the fortress to the right here. And I also see something else very interesting. I see one block of the bastion, which is pretty insane. Now, I have no clue where I am and what kind of bastion, but I think I'm at like Y82 or something, which, yeah, I'm able to dig in, and it's a bridge triple, and I can tell because of the one tiny hole in front of the double chest and the little shape caused by the netherrack there. So that goes to show how knowing your bastions is very important. And it's also notable because I entered the bastion well before Eric did, where Eric entered the nether before me, and I entered the bastion like a second before him. So I made up quite a bit of time on this bastion here. But this also puts in another decision. I know guaranteed there's a right triple, but I don't know if there's a left one. What route do I do? Now obviously I could do just a standard right triple route, but it will not be as good as if there's a left triple and if I want to do Donkey Kong, which whatever I said might become invalid if I'm able to see if it's a triple. And yes, it is a triple to the left there, so everything I said is just completely invalid. I'm doing the Donkey Kong route, which this is scary, needing the Hoglin to get out of my way here, which almost get thrown into the lava. Know that the baby Hoglin could be a problem, so deciding to punch it so it gets out of the way, which taking a lot of damage that I don't want to, needing to eat my suspicious stew early, which, coming to think about it, this is just a big time loss, and it is probably like, I remember after this match thinking, where did it go wrong? There, that is where it went wrong. Where that is probably why I lost so much time. But luckily, able to start my route now. Don't have as much health as I want. There's a few angry pigs, which I'm luckily able to dodge, but luckily I'm able to start the route. Not many pigs in this triple, but tragedy. I usually love to hit a pig, a sword pig, into the Donkey Kong hole. The sword pig that I punched did not go in, and he is not happy with me. Luckily, which I'm just going to go back for an instant replay on that, where luckily, yeah, I just assume that he's going to go in, but no, he gets distracted somehow. I don't know what this pig gets distracted by, which he walks towards the hole and then walks towards me. I thought the pig would go right directly into the hole, and I would punch it as it's falling in, but no, the pig's mad at me, and this just sends me into a panic. I get hit here, and I'm like, ah, darn it, I am going to die here against Eric, and Eric's going to win. But luckily, there's a netherrack block behind me. Now, this netherrack block will always generate if the bastion is, this one right here that my cursor's over, this block will always generate if your bastion is buried, which is cool bastion knowledge fact that to know about. So I guess it is also just visible on my screen, so I'd know about it. But yeah, I'd get hit, and I just stack up so it's not able to hit me. And another thing, I need to keep throwing gold, otherwise the crossbow pig that was right there would shoot me and I'd die. Because right now, I'm on half a heart, and no amount of armor can protect me from half a heart. But yeah, you can see I still get a lot of pigs from Donkey Kong, so overall it is a pretty good route anyways. But this pig is mad at me for 30 seconds, and that's sometimes I don't want to wait it out. So I'm trying to overlap as much as I can. I think I'm considering, but yeah, I'm right here. I'm just sorting my inventory pretty much, just getting rid of everything I can. I also consider getting the pig at the bottom there, but I think I end up deciding against it. Luckily, this pig is finally off my butt, not mad at me anymore, and just decides to walk off his friend down there, which I do open the path for them if they want to come back up, but I don't specifically aggro them just to get 2 more pigs when I could be risking myself, because that feels kind of stupid, especially with rotten flesh. I took so much damage in this run where I'm healing up very, very slowly because of the rotten flesh. Now, something that I could do is what I could have done is kill a hoglin, which I don't think I considered. But basically the seed gives you one suspicious stew and then a bunch of rotten flesh. And that's it, pretty much. Which, luckily, all my pigs are trading, so I guess getting hit by the guy wasn't bad if my pigs are overlapping all the trading. And I know where the fort is, and Eric gets it right there. Yeah, you can see there's a string trade at the bottom there, but I decided it's not worth it because I got scared of the hoglin, which probably shouldn't have been. And also another thing, I gotta be very cognizant of terrain and like where I enter the bastion, because I spend a while trying to look for the hole that I dug up from, and I'm just not able to find it for a few seconds, when I should be looking for better terrain to get to the bastion instead of just going out where I came from. But yeah, now I'm entering the fort at least a minute slower than Eric. And I also need to wait for my health to regenerate very slowly because of the rotten flesh. If I didn't take that much pearl damage, I'd still be able to throw like 1 or 2. And I'd be able to get to the fort like now, but unfortunately, I need to just go very, very slowly using my blocks to get to the bad part. Here I have a blaze-bedded spawner right as Eric is blinding under 7 minutes. This is really, really sad for me because I know this is just well sub 10 pace, and getting sub 10 on a seed like this would be really, really sad for me, even though Eric's a very, very skilled player. Here I've measured my eyes. I'm trying to craft everything, including gold picks to mine through terrain faster, a bow to shoot any crystals, iron bars for ground zero. That is a big magma cube. I actually don't remember that. Luckily I'm able to hit him off and he's not that big of a problem. But I know that the second portal cords are at least like a good 2.5 pearls away, which I'm able to pearl hang for and get my last rod. But yeah, as I'm really, really close to cords right now, I guess not right now because Eric just enters the end, but at this point I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is winnable. I can still, if Eric messes up the 0 or has to half bow, I can just nav the stronghold very, very quickly and be able to win. Unfortunately for me, I'm not able to first try the nav, which is very unfortunate. Misplace a bed there, which not ideal at all, but I hear it, which I guess I do, like, cheater, see it above me, but it doesn't matter. Eric is, I assume, to have hit the 0, and I don't even get a chance to attempt it. This next seed is interesting, because in the first few seconds, I'm pretty much know that it's Ruin Portal, and I do see it on the left of my screen, the gold block on it. Let's just go back, because I would just want to highlight where I saw it. There, right here, I'm able to see the gold block and the stone brick stair right on the left of my screen. And you may be wondering why this is important, and you will see it later. Well, I mean, obviously it's important to be able to spot a ruin portal quickly. But this is a pretty decent seed. Enchanted golden apple, as well as pretty close food. The only downside of this seed is there's not really many good tools. Usually you want to see either a gold axe or a gold pickaxe in your ruined portal chest, or at least make this sword a looting sword and not like sweeping edge. No one really cares about that. But this is very, very good for food, having 7 pork chop as well as um, an enchanted golden apple is really, really good for the food situation. And also, Eric did just find the ruined portal a good 10 seconds ago. So I know in my head that, okay, I'm a good 20 seconds ahead in the overworld, which is always good. Obviously not game-changing at all in the slightest, considering like how much time can be saved elsewhere. Like doing a different bastion route can save like a few minutes. That's pretty funny. Just the mineshaft peekaboo below me, which it would have been really funny if I got like an iron pick from there or something. But regardless, having an advantage is an advantage, and I'll take any lead I can, especially against a top runner. Which luckily get enough wood, enough stuff, able to enter the nether around the 130 mark, which is pretty decent. The only downside is I do need an iron pickaxe, which, if I see the bastion type here, it is treasure, which is not ideal for finding an iron pick, especially if your opponent has one, but luckily I know for a fact that Eric does not have one, so we're on an even playing field. Now, I'm able to mine into the side here. Now, one thing I do not have is gold armor, which is very, very scary because any piglins that see you will want to hit you, and especially bottom treasure is closed quarters, so there's not too many places you can escape to. But luckily, I'm able to see 2 chests, one to my left, one to my right, which could have iron, which I want to check. Luckily, I'm able to place a stair to prevent myself from being hit, and beautiful 5 iron, enough for a pickaxe and a gold helmet so piglins won't get mad at me on sight. Amazing. Just exactly what you want to see. Eric checking their first chest, not getting anything. So they very likely checked a different chest than what I did. Any other seed type with a pretty fast enter, this is an excellent seed, spawning really close to a treasure with a fortress this close. But because it was a ruined portal seed, which this is what I was saying at the start of the video about how ruined portal seeds could be really good and really bad. Even though there is like an enchanted golden apple, this is an example of a bad ruined portal seed because you get a wood pick in the overworld and you need to get an iron one in the bastion, which is just always going to be slow no matter what. But right now I'm starting my route and Eric has just found the iron source and made an iron pick. So I know, okay, at this point I'm probably like maybe a minute ahead, which is good. My lead is snowballing, so I'm hopefully going to take this momentum and be able to convert it to a game win. And if I do that, I'll have one more game to be able to beat Eric. Because right now, this is the semifinal match. And if I'm to win this, I will be put in the winners finals against one of either J12310 or W Yoshi, 2 very skilled players. So the fact that I'm even in the winners top 4 is pretty crazy to me right now. Able to wait for the last trade cycle before unhanging my pearl, and I throw a phenomenal one to get to the fort. I'm able to get in the back. What do I have in my inventory? 5 beds. I don't think I have any. No, I do have anchors. 5 beds and 2 anchors is definitely more than enough for pretty much any zero cycle, I think. Which I'll definitely be able to, or most hopefully be able to hit. I also do want to blaze bed here as for the consistency as I stated previously. Unfortunately, not enough time for me to overlap crafting in the bastion, but luckily able to get it off here. Now, this is a Soul Sand Valley fortress, but something I'm always trying to do is just play the spawner pretty much in every context, just because it's the consistency play. When you're going for strays, it's not going to work out every time. Sometimes you'll just get a bunch of wither skeletons, and you won't get like a ton of blazes as well. And that is just an unfortunate truth of playing for strays. But playing for spawner, it can rarely go wrong. Like maybe there's like it's covered in lava or something,
But there's two of them as well, so if one of them's covered in lava, it's very rare that both of them will be. So playing spawners is just the consistency play, which is pretty much the norm. I feel like most top runners, at least in ranked, will always be crafting a blaze bed in their bastion. Now, that is something that's really, really bad. While trying to put out fire, I accidentally threw out my crossbow into the fire, and I don't even have any string to be able to craft a bow or a crossbow. Now, this is really, really bad, especially if it's not zeroable. I will not be able to half bow, meaning that I'm pretty much full committing to just being able to hit this zero. And if I'm not, it's probably Jover. Now, I get a 99.7% offset, and while it could be the 0.3% chance that it's like 900 blocks, I decide I trust the 99.7% that it's 1200 and decide to just send that. Now, the terrain for this was pretty rough, but I am able to work my way around it pretty well. Able to get a pearl off, land in this little crevice, and I'm pretty much right on course. You can see I'm digging down at almost 9 minutes. A bit of surprise lava, but it doesn't scare me as I have fire res. But still decent pace. I know for a fact that I will be in the stronghold before Eric is, so it's on me to be able to nav it first try and hit this zero. Now while I'm naving, I do have the issue again where I don't really have a clear spike. Where I still have my 30 FOV up while trying to nav, but it isn't doing me any favors as there's just so many directions to go down off of mid where I'm just not sure where to go. And at this point, Eric I spies as well. And it becomes a nav race. Who can find the portal room first? Unfortunately, the answer to the question is Eric, as he's able to find the stronghold, find the portal room in just a few seconds. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if he's able to hit this zero, it's over. I gotta hope that it's either not zeroable or that he made a mistake and that I'll be able to not do that and be able to win. And this stronghold's not doing me any favors, not throwing me any ropes, as I'm still just getting lost in here. I do see some light, and I think I pearl down because I'm confident that it has to be it, and it is. And I have the enchanted golden apple preloaded, ready to be used. I'm able to enter the end, and I see it's an easy tower, which you may think this is good because this can be hit. I realize that it probably is already over, just because it's pretty a tower like this is pretty impossible to mess up. And I'm right. Eric was able to zero cycle and be able to get the win. It's a pretty sad way to go out. 0-2 against Eric, but then again, I can't be really sad. Eric's a very skilled player, and you can see right here, he's number 6 in the world. And he's one of the players where no matter who you are, he can just pop out and beat you pretty much, just at any point. So I do think I put up a good fight against him, especially in the second seed where I outpaced him pretty much everywhere except for the stronghold in the end where he was just able to nav it faster than me. But my tournament life is not over. I will be going down to the losers bracket, and I still have a shot at taking the crown. My next opponent is just Altoid, someone who I know is a very mechanically skilled speedrunner. I do know I typically have better decision making than him, but mechanically, he beats me every time. Now, another thing to note is that we'll talk about the seed in a second. I was waiting about 30 minutes for my match, just due to some complications in some of the matchmaking. There was 2 runners who decided to do a tiebreaker match for various reasons, and that took them just a bit and basically pushed the tournament schedule by about like 20 minutes longer than it should have been, just because we were pace locked waiting for matches. But this seed is very interesting. 5 iron from the rune portal and a light. The golem drops 4. I know that I need to make decisions about what to craft, and I do get 3 cobblestone, and you can see me looking here thinking, I decide to craft an iron axe first. Now this is because I can use it to kill the golem who will drop 4 iron, guaranteed with the ranked mod, and I will use the 4 iron with the 2 I have left over to craft a bucket and iron pickaxe, which I don't need a flint and steel because I already have one in my inventory. Now, I do think my routing is pretty good on this seed. I already have a bed. I'm able to get this wood from here. I'm able to grab water from the well. Now, the one issue is food, because I only have 1 bread and 4 apples, which is not ideal. You usually want more food. Now, I did see this before, a play that I did decide to end up making on the seed. I will kill the sheep. Now, this is not something you see in a village. Usually you see people mining hay bales, getting carrots. I think this play is really good because all the food in the village is very, very far, and these sheep are not behaving. All the food is very, very far, and it's a long way to go out just for some bread, where mutton is higher quality and is much closer to the portal. So I decide to make the mutton play, which I think this is probably one of the best played overworlds of the tourney, maybe, I think, that I did. And yeah, I just am able to enter so much faster than him, even if he didn't make mistakes, because, spoiler alert, just Altoid does make a few mistakes in the overworld, which this spawn is very interesting as well, because it's a fortress spawn, where I decide to go to the bastion first, where I will be able to get stuff like pearls and fire res, which will, and I guess blocks, which will help me for the fortress. And yeah, I can see the bastion right now. It is a housing variant, and I can see Altoid trading in the overworld at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. What is he trading for? I've got no clue. Now, I am using up my wood, but I do know in my head I'm thinking, right, okay, there's plenty of wood in the overworld. If I don't get enough obsidian, I can just do home portal, and there's plenty of wood for me to mine. Now, here's something which is scary. I decide to dig a hole to get the chest, and as I decide to hit the skeleton with a sword for some reason, I end up hitting a piglin with a sweeping edge. So now I'm torn between needing to wait 30 seconds for the piglin's aggro to go down, but I decide to try to get him in a hole, but doesn't really work too much. And in my head I'm thinking, okay, I'm pretty much stun locked here. I decide to just break the chest and just run for it. And I guess that ends up working, because I'm very scared of taking extra damage from this piglin. Now I try to look in my inventory to see if there's any bone blocks, just so I don't need to use my extra wood, because 19 is typically enough, but it is a bit on the low slide in terms of explosives, and does not look like there is enough, so I do bite the bullet, end up using 2 to block off, which isn't that much of a big deal in the grand scheme of things, like in terms of wood, especially because I do end up mining the wood behind me. I hope at least I do, because it's the right play. Usually I place my blocks to block off the housing pigs 1 block further back. Yes, I do end up doing that. 1 block further back, just because then you don't need to do that. You don't need to break the block if you place it 1 further back. But because I did do the I did place it a bit further just because there was that surprise piglin that was in my way. I had to place it in the way I did, because otherwise it would have gone wrong. I probably wouldn't have just been able to place the blocks, and I probably would have gotten smacked by the piglins. Now I'm very much far ahead in this run, but Altoid is making up time. Now, something here I do pause to think for a second, but luckily just decide to pearl clutch. I don't know if I even have a boat, so I'm not sure if I would have been able to boat clutch, so pearl clutching is probably my only option. But I'm able to pearl onto the fort here and make my way to find the blaze spawner. Do I go for those blazes? Yes, I do. Okay, I think that's a smart play, going for these strays. Makes up for me not going for the other strays that I had in the Pisu match. But I know I'm in the bad part, so I want to be getting out of here as quickly as possible just to be able to find the good part. Unfortunately for me, neither of those blazes drop, which is not great. Do I hear blazes in here? No, but there is a wither skeleton behind me, which I want none of. And there's my home portal. Funny little home portal cameo. Luckily, I won't be using it just because I do have 20 obsidian. And there, spawner right there. Now, I pretty much have this game on lock. It's pretty much mine to lose. The monster hunter right there indicates that Altoid got to the fortress, which means that he probably saved up a lot of time on me, which means he either spent a lot of time gathering materials or he just made up time in the bastion, which does make sense considering housing you need is more mechanically focused rather than decision making, as you're basically doing the same thing every time. Where maybe he didn't get it as he just got returned to sender, who knows? But as well as he probably had more materials than me, such as like more blocks, so he didn't need to use up as much of his wood as I did, where I only have 17, he likely has more. And yeah, you can see we're basically at the same pace here because he just got his first rod mere seconds after I got mine, which how he made up all that time considering I entered like a good minute before him, I don't know. But luckily, the back end of these rates are looking really, really good as I'm able to kill these two blazes, and wow, they both drop. And I decided to get my boat angle there, which I don't even know if I needed to, but on the off chance that like I boated down somewhere and forgot about it, it's always good to reset the angle just because if you move your boat around using like your A and D keys to go left and right, it will mess up with your boat angle. So you do need to reset it at some point in the run. Now, one thing that happens here is I actually didn't see that it's only a 75% chance to hit the stronghold here after adjusting. So it's absolutely the right play to throw a second eye to make sure I'm going to the correct offset. But what I don't end up doing is I just don't end up doing that because I just completely misread and think that I have 100% certainty. And it's not till I'm in the nether going to chords that I realize this. So this could put me in a very bad position because if I go to the wrong chords and or to the chords where the stronghold just doesn't end up being, assuming they're correct, and Altoid goes to different ones and is able to hit the stronghold, this will be really bad because I will be behind and I'll need to run in the overworld to get to this stronghold, whereas Altoid will just be able to nav it and be able to win. Luckily, this stronghold is pretty close. I know I'm like maybe 40 blocks away from it at this point, and the terrain is pretty decent. After that one or two confusing pearls, I'm pretty much on chords right now, which is pretty nice. I remember them being 126, 126, so they're right here. Now, entering this stronghold, I get a good spike down left. I know my spike. I know that's going to be very good, so I'm just sending to the left. And I know there's some backward stuff. I decide to just, like, go to this 5-way, this 4-way after navving again. And yeah, I'm just able to first try it. I definitely wormholed it a bit, but that was overall pretty clean. I would say that's first try, which is pretty good. And I know I'm definitely far ahead of Altoid, though he could just not need to death reset. I know that luckily I am able to enter the end before him. Which I'm very, very lucky those chords were the correct stronghold, because if not, it would have been really bad. Now, I had to use 2 pearls to go for the pearl clip, which is really sad, and that also just guarantees that I won't be able to zero, which I very realistically could have gone for a side setup here, because it's not too bad at all, but luckily I have a bow, and I'm able to half bow. This does look like, unless if Altoid is able to hit the 0, this won't look like a perch race, but no, this won't. This will be a perch race, but I do have the head start, and I do have a good 7 crystals down. And yeah, it looks like I'll just be able to hit this one cycle and win. Okay, that was just weird. I just pretty much crapped all over the floor during that one cycle, and then just get hit by an Enderman to top it all off. So, I'm not exactly sure what happened or why that happened, but all I know is that I'm in the overworld, and I'm heavily behind right now. To the point where I'm just gathering beds to be able to go back. I have basically 2 minutes to... I basically have like 1.5 minutes to be able to get back into the end before I'm able to beat the game, just before the time limit runs out. And these creepers are actually really good because now I have like more than half a sidewalk. Got like a good 40 blocks to be able to get back to the stronghold. And I know the terrain is good, meaning that I will be able to hopefully get back into the end. Altoid is still navving the stronghold, so there's a chance that he won't even be able to complete the seed. So that I know I just need to boss up and just crank it out. Luckily, I'm able to get back to my portal with 1 minute left on the clock. I remember my nav, so I'm just gonna run through the stronghold real quick, and I think I entered the end with like 40 seconds or something remaining. Which is still possible to beat it if I get a perch right away. But, tragedy. I pearl clipped out of the end. I'm gonna need to mine endstone with my bare hands. Realistically, what I should have done is probably maybe just used a bed to blow it up somehow. But, alas. To make matters worse, I did a double pearl clip, which means that I'll need to mine two two endstone with my fist. This is just sad, needing to watch me just mine it. And then, yeah, with 10 seconds left, I just know that I'm not able to complete the seed at all. Which is very, very tragic. Which I try to blow myself up with a bed, but the match ends before that. Now, you may be wondering what happens in the event that a match draws, and that is the official ruling is that whichever player has more progress in the seed would win. And because I made it to the end and Altoid was stuck in the stronghold the entire time, I would have taken that seed. This next one looks to be a buried treasure, which it's pretty neat. I've gotten every seed type in this tournament, which I think is pretty cool. The system works. But I know that buried treasure, Altoid does just beat me in terms of raw mechanical skill, which is something that buried treasure overworlds have a lot of. But luckily, I know what I'm making. I get to make diamond sword and shears. Do I make gold axe here? Let's see. Yes, I do. I like making gold axe when I have diamond sword, because usually you want a stone or iron axe to kill blazes, but when you have a diamond sword, that's what you're going to be using to kill blazes. It doesn't matter if your axe is like 10 durability or something, like you know what you have. At this point, I've boated over two fake ravines, but luckily I'm able to see the real one here, which it seems that Altoid is just entering at. Which I got scared. Usually when you see a fake ravine, you're like, oh damn, now I need to look for another ravine, and I spent all this time going to this ravine, and just for it to be fake. But nope, this one's a real one, and he hasn't entered the nether yet after making his portal, so it does seem like a portal fuck up, so I'm not too far behind him as of right yet. And yeah, the portal fuck up seemed to be really big because I'm just able to enter the nether before him. And looking at it right now, this is a double triple stables, which double triple I always do on stables, even if it's double triple, try to do triple to gap, but this seed is like decently fast enough to the point where if Altoid just plays double triple, he's just gonna raw outpace me. And if I do triple the gap and we both get the same amount of stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do the double triple route, and I'm just gonna hope it goes well. But what I do is I actually do the triple route, because I was able to see two triples. I have no idea what the third one is. And I do think it's a triple, so I do try to like mine a bit of it, but no, it turns out it is not a triple, it turns out it is a double. So it doesn't matter too much, as most of the time the pig count, as long as it's enough pigs for double triple, doesn't matter too much, because they will all be done trading by the time you're done checking chests. So I'm able to start the route from the middle instead, which is you usually don't see that when it's you usually start trading at the triple you start from, which in my case would have been the right one, where you usually do see middle triple if the second triple is left as opposed to right. And yeah, luckily for me, the fort is very close. I guess luckily for both of us as well, the fort is very close. But one of the things about double triple is sometimes you just don't get enough stuff, especially in ranked. And this does seem to be the case, as we'll see very shortly. I do have good amount of pearls, good amount of explosives, not enough obsidian. So I'll need to make the choice. Do I want to force an extra chest or more chests in the bastion for potentially having more obsidian? Ranked guarantees you one. Or do I play home portal? Well, it looks like I do make up my mind pretty quickly because I decide to do a quick pearl hang to home portal and just enter through the bad part. But we saw how this played out with Pisu, where I just won't be able to find the spawners as quickly. So will the time save of me not needing to check an extra chest pay off for the time save of getting to the fort first? Because Altoid is still in the bastion, despite us entering at the same time, which, that's a lie. He just entered the fortress now. Luckily able to navigate it, see two blazes outside, which I decide to go for. I do decide to try and use my boat to get up, but a blaze decides to heavily counter my play by burning it, which I think was a pretty funny interaction. Because usually blazes burn boats. And a good heads up play for me, I do hear a blaze under here and am able to get to it without taking fall damage. Another heads up play, hearing this blaze, and also noticing that noticing the room where the bad part of the fort turns to the good gap, the little room with the lava in it, just by the shape, and instead of going up and digging into it, going around, which saves quite a bit of time. And yeah, the spawner is right here, so I don't get punished for my home portal play at all. The only downside of it is needing to swim all the way back up. And yeah, I already have 6 rods. If I'm playing RSG, I'm out right now, but I don't want to risk an eye breaking. So what I decide to do is I decide to just stay here for a 7th rod, meaning that if a rod breaks, I will be completely fine, completely in the clear. And yeah, plenty of explosives, have iron bars for ground zero. I'm in a very, very good position right now. Sub 7, first portal, which is very, very decent. Full measuring split done, especially with swimming up and down the ravine, and Altoid has just left the nether. This may have been because of strays, may have been because of some other issue that I do not know, but the terrain doesn't look great, but it isn't terrible on the way to these chords where, looking back here, the terrain is looking pretty good, especially now, considering it's, yeah, I'm just basically one very good pearl throw away, and I'm just pretty much almost at chords right here, meaning that it's pretty much my game to lose if, depending if Altoid's able to catch up or not. Nine flat stronghold, which is kinda sad, choking the sub 9, but I pretty much get a very, very decent spike. Now, something about the stronghold is that it's ocean exposed. It's faster to just directly nav to the stronghold, which, if you don't see the portal room exposed, which I think I do end up doing. Yeah, I do see the portal room there, but it's either exposed and I wasn't able to see it, or it's just not exposed. But it is faster to just straight nav to the portal room than to swim to it. But that being said, being able to look outside in the ocean exposed and be able to see the stronghold is just always good to have. Another pearl clip 0, this time at 59, going to go for the double thing again. Now, do I end up going for ground 0? Let's see. I don't. Okay, I either just forgot about it or just decided to go for half bow. But it's another perch race, assuming that he's able to find the stronghold quickly. And usually you don't want to... I should have gone for ground 0 here. Not sure why I didn't. But again, still in basically the same position I was the exact last match, where I just outpace him into the end. And it's just up to him to be able to get into the end and get the perch, pretty much. Where hopefully I'll be able to clutch out a better one cycle than the last seed. And the dragon flips in, going to perch, and Altoid had just entered the end and used his crossbow, meaning that I'm pretty much guaranteed this win unless if I mess up. And no, the one cycle's pretty clean. Do a very nice +1 at the end to get it. And I decide to scum the take aim advancement just to make him think he has a chance, just to feel something, you know? So really I'm doing him a favor. Unfortunately for Altoid, knocking him out, moving myself on to the guaranteed top 4 of this tournament against W Yoshi is a player who played in the Season 3 playoffs, so I know I'm going against the best of the best. Having to deal with a playoffs player is very, very frightening. And I know that while Yoshi can be crazy good, can definitely outpace. I know he has a sub 8 in ranked, maybe even multiple. And yeah, another shipwreck TNT seed with basically 2 ways I could go. I could go to the left or to the right for a magma ravine. I decide to do neither and go to the middle to find a ruined portal chest. I'm basically hoping that this ruined portal chest has something good or worthwhile for me, and it very well does. Gold pick, fire charge, golden carrots. Probably, apart from like a looting sword and a bunch of obsidian, one of the best I could have asked for. Now, luckily, I do choose the right direction as I'm able to see the magma ravine right about now, which, while Yoshi does beat me to it because I assume he just doesn't check the ruined portal. Entering the nether, you'll very quickly see that this seed may be my worst nightmare. You can see the fort, which is fine, and then you'll eventually see the treasure bastion. The treasure's above a huge gap. This is really, really bad for me because I'm really, really bad at speed bridging. But what I decide to do is decide to like see if there's any up terrain at all that I can force. And I do this pretty like quickly. And yeah, looking right here, I decide pretty much to send going through the fortress and then bridging there because that's a very short distance, like maybe 10, 15 blocks at most, compared to 50 or 60 from here, seems much more desirable. And I decide to lower my render distance and play for the strays, and I get them. 2 strays in the back end of my fort, giving me the into fire advancement. Now, something I could do is play fort first, which is, I guess, pretty funny, but just wouldn't have been like a good play at all in any capacity for me. But there. Now let's talk about another play I could do right here, is looking at the back of the treasure bastion, seeing which gold blocks I can get, and seeing which ones more specifically aren't there. Now this is a play I need to get better at doing because you can see all the gold blocks that you end up mining out on the treasure here. So it can save time in knowing like which ones not to get. But it seems like while Yoshi's doing the same play that I am, running through the fortress to get to the bastion, I'm very, very scared here, not wanting to speed bridge, but I'm able to enter the bastion first with 2 rods, which is really, really good for me. This treasure route is pretty textbook. I feel like my treasures have been really, really good during this tournament, which is something I'm really proud of. Which almost slip up there, but it's no big deal. A gold pick and treasure is also a huge time save, especially one with efficiency. I pretty much have enough materials here to be able to go to the fort. I don't know if I'm waiting for anything else, maybe more explosives, but I just definitely have enough here. Do I go? Yes, I do. I was considering first portaling early on the 2 rods in the bastion while the pigs were trading, but luckily the pigs were done fast enough, so it doesn't matter too much. Another thing is, because I did load the spawner before, entering the bastion, I would just not be able to trigger it upon here, so I'd have to run to the other spawner. Now, I'm not sure if Wally Yoshi played Fort first, or if he just played the Bastion and then went to the Fort and first portaled early, but he is finding the stronghold before I am. Entering the stronghold at around the 10-minute mark, which is ahead of Wally Yoshi, which is what I love to see, always having a lead on a very skilled player, getting a spike to the right side, checking again, getting it again, knowing where I need to nav. Oh, and this is where it all goes wrong. I see some large amounts of stone brick and light far in the ravine and decide to just whip a pearl there. And the portal room doesn't end up being here. Where the portal room actually is the portal room, spoiler, ends up being down this staircase. And I'm too tunnel visioned on whatever this is to be able to focus on it. Where you can see eventually W Yoshi's able to I Spy later than me and enter the end, much like Eric was able to do. And then I will eventually go down the staircase. I think it's right here. And look at how free that was. I just tunnel visioned something that wasn't correct, and I paid for it. Entering the end like a minute and a half, or 2 full minutes after entering the stronghold. While Yoshi, assuming not being able to zero with, again, another pearl clip, my third in a row. The game really doesn't like giving me open ends. Do I end up going for it? No, I don't. I feel like I should have gone for that. Maybe it would have given me a chance. But I do decide to start my half bow, even though while Yoshi is further ahead, he still very well could have choked the zero. But I do end up taking damage here, luckily not dying. That did scare me. But I get a faster perch. Holy cow. The only issue is, there's a large amount of Dragon's Breath right here. I'm not able to stand in the fountain, otherwise I will take damage for it. I need to stand outside on the lip of the fountain while the dragon perches. Not being able to see the head as well as I could, needing to detonate these beds before the breath catches me. And yeah, just able to finish the dragon. And here is where I get really scared, because he decides to do not quite 9 lives. The only time people do this in ranked is when they kill the dragon. I'm thinking it comes down to a few seconds. I decide to do it too, just because. And then I pearl through at the end. I probably won that match by a second. And did I get lucky? Absolutely. I got really, really lucky that match. But I will take anything I can. Being 1 up against W Yoshi is insane. So I will definitely be taking this. The next seed, again, a very good ruin portal. I decided to break the chest just to check for a mapless spike, and nothing. But if you look at what you're able to get with this ruin portal, you're not able to get a gold axe exactly, but 2 golden apples, one of them enchanted, iron pickaxe, cows very, very close. This is an insane overworld, one of the best you could possibly ask for. This nether, again, is really good. Treasure Bastion and Fortress Visible, which is always a good combo. Usually Treasure Bastions are not widely appreciated due to the fact that they have a spawner in them, making Pyrite impossible without going to break the spawner. But if you're able to see the fort, Treasure Bastions become some of the best, fastest, and most consistent ones. Which I do feel like my Treasure Bastions were on point. I make very, very little mistakes at all in this tournament in Treasure Bastions. Almost make a mistake with that wood, but I'm able to correct, not get hit at all there, which I think is very impressive from my part, not to trade my own gold. The piglins are already doing that. Now, right here, it's important to note, while Yoshi gets O Shiny, which you usually only get when you start the route, so that makes me believe that he either died and just started the route now, as I'm entering the fort at like under 4:30, or he had gold armor to begin with and died somehow. Now both of those options do benefit me, so I'm taking this lead and I'm trying to run with it. Unfortunately for me, I'm not able to see a spawner. So, do I pull up my pie chart? Yes, I do. I do see it and a very big spike. Luckily, I'm able to see the culprit of it, which is large spawner right there, and I'm able to play it. Another very, very good spike to the top right, and again what I was saying with ocean exposed strongholds. Yes, it's better to one-shot the nav, but if you can see it, then hey, that's good too. and it ends up probably maybe even saving time just because of the dolphin. Now, knowing I'll get a sub 10 end enter, if I'm able to hit this 0, it's going to be a very, very fast time. All I gotta do is hit it, and not only will I be guaranteed 3rd place, but I will also be able to get a sub 10 in tournament, which is really, really hype. However, this 0 is tough. It's a back dragon, and I pussy out of it. I had an excellent pearl, but I was kidding myself into thinking I wouldn't be able to hit the 0. And the dragon flies. I pussied out of going to 95, and I went to 91, and the dragon flew. Now I just gotta hope for a fast perch, and that W Yoshi also messes up the 0, because if he goes to 95, the dragon won't fly. Unfortunately for me, W Yoshi is able to hit the 0. He did tell me after this match he died like 2 minutes in, so without a death it would have been a very low H, which is kind of insane. Which does make sense if I'm able to get a sub 10 and a top runner is able to get low 8. That does just make sense. But now it's 1-1, down to the last match to determine who moves on. The next seed is a shipwreck, and while there are trees on the island, I decide to make an iron axe and play the shipwreck because I know the magma ravine is really, really close. And I'm high rolling that there will be good terrain and that I will be able to simply not need to have a lot of blocks for this seed. I'm no clue if W Yoshi made the same play as me, but he's able to enter the nether, I assume to be like a good 10-15 seconds before I am. And knowing that the Bastion is really, really close, I'm scared that this could be another fast seed, because if that's the case, there's a very good chance W Yoshi just outpaces me. And it looks like it is. Another stables. Luckily, the sword pig decides to run through the portal, and I'm able to grab the loot from the chest and able to get up here. Now, I do know that it's a triple, and I do see the fortress. I'm going to do what I always do. Get the triple, go down to the gap. It gets very scary as a pig gets distracted, and as there's a pig in my gap, I die to the piglin on the stairs. Now this gets really bad because I almost die again, but luckily I decide to improvise and do the pig fall route. This will allow me to... It's basically a backup route for if there's a pig in your gap, and it's probably what I should have gone for anyways at the start, but I haven't practiced it in many, many months. So I am a bit rusty. Luckily, however, I'm able to make a hole and get into it and get all my pigs into it. Unfortunately, this death did lose me quite a bit of time, so W Yoshi is definitively in the lead. Now, I wish I could say I clutched up, but with a mad piglin at me and a quick pearl, I accidentally pearl too high and lose a majority of my stuff into lava. Knowing I need to get a sub 9 on this seed to be able to beat W Yoshi, and assuming he doesn't die in the fortress, just get a few more splits to be able to guarantee the win against me, I know pretty much deep down it's over, as W Yoshi is able to get the free the end advancement, killing the dragon, getting another sub 11 on the board. I do think, except for the last seed, that I played pretty well throughout the entire tournament, and I'm happy with how I did. Placing 4th with the likes of W Yoshi and Eric in this tournament is a feat to be proud of, and I'm holding my head high. This was a blast to play in, and I can't wait to be participating in more tournaments. So if you'd like to see more content like this, subscribe because it will convince me to make more.